Sathyabama Institute of Science and Technology.
Hi. Today we'll be seeing about the introduction to ethical hacking. And in today's session, we'll be clearly understanding what is ethical hacking and what are the different types of penetration testing. And today's session will be presented by Dr. Kiruthika Devi. And myself, I'm working as assistant professor at Sathyabama University. And today's section, we'll just go for the session. So, ethical hacking. Why ethical hacking is always very important in this recent era? As an ethical hacker, we should have proper ethical values to know whether we should able to hack the system or not. So whether do we have legal authority to access a particular computer or a system. So that is what ethical hacking is. We will see little history of what this kind of topic has become. We will see little history about how ethical hacking has been evolved in the past few years. So we'll understand what is the term hacker. So who is a hacker? A hacker is someone who is able to solve complex logic. That is what a hacker is. And media has changed that particular hacking as a hacker term as little bit a negative these days. So the hacker is someone who is able to get into a system and compromise any particular target. It will be a credit card information or it can be a banking information. So that is what a hacker means. We'll see what are the different types of hacker. The first one is white hat hacker, the second one is black hat hacker, and the next one is gray hat hacker. So who is a white hat hacker first of all? So a person who is a security professional or authorized researcher who is able to get into the system, that is called as a white hat hacker, and he is being employed particular organization for getting into the system to know the vulnerabilities and to know about the threats. That is what a white hacker is called. Okay. But whereas black hat hacker is someone who we will call as a bad guy, and this particular hacker will get into the system for unwanted purpose only. So a black hat hacker is someone who will get into the system, he will compromise any critical information in the particular system, and it is going to have an impact on the computer infrastructure. That is what a hacker is. The next one is gray hat hacker. Gray hat hacker is someone who is intermediate between both white and the black. So imagine there is a security professional who is authorized to do some activity in a computer server. That particular person later will install a Trojan or a backdoor to take confidential information. So that is what gray hat hacker is. So this particular hacker is very vulnerable because anytime this particular person will use any backdoor to access critical information in your system. And the next one, script kiddie. So script kiddie is a kind of a hacker who has little knowledge about the particular exploit. So they don't know how to debug or modify the code, but they'll be able to use the particular tool excellently to perform a particular attack, or they will compromise a particular system. That is what a script kiddie is. The next one is elite hacker. This elite hacker is someone who has a deep knowledge about the particular exploit. It can be he or she who is having coding skills and they are able to modify and debug the code. That is what an elite hacker is. The next one is a hacktivist. Who is a hacktivist? Hacktivist someone is a group of hackers who are able to hack into the system or compromise the system for a particular purpose. So it can be because of political gain, or it can be because of a freedom of speech, or it can be any group and their intention is not good. That is what a hacktivist is called. And finally comes our ethical hacker. Who is our ethical hacker? So this ethical hacker is hired by the organization to know what are the vulnerabilities that is present in the particular system. So what is the major difference between hacking and ethical hacking is a permission. That's all. So if I'm going to take a particular object from particular person, whether I'm getting permission from them or not. So that is the only difference between a hacking and a ethical hacking. So you get a permission to get into a system or to take any confidential data, that is called as ethical hacking. So before getting into ethical hacking and further discussions about what is ethical hacking, we will understand the important terminologies in our computer infrastructure. So first one is asset. So what is meant by asset? A computer device or a particular processor or any particular component that is able to have confidential information, that is called as an asset. And here for example, my credit card information or my banking information. That is mean by a asset. The next one, what is meant by vulnerability first of all? So any weakness or a flaw in a system is called as a vulnerability, and this vulnerability can be taken as advantage of the hacker to gain access for unauthorized activity. So that is what a vulnerability is. And here what we will do is, once a particular person has gained the access, he will do data manipulation, and there can be privilege escalation also. So a particular person is given access for only system level access, but later the user will get into administrative level of access to gain confidential information. The next one is a threat. What is meant by a threat? A threat is something which is a vulnerability that has been present in the particular system, and it can be exploited at the later point of time. So for example, what you can do is a malicious hacker who is trying to get unauthorized access into the system, that is called as a threat. The next one, what is meant by exploit? So you have found a vulnerability in the system, and now that vulnerability is taken advantage and you launch an attack, that is called as a exploit. For example, here I know a particular door, there is no security person there. So obviously what a hacker will do, he will get into the particular door when the security is not there. So that is called as an exploit. So you find out the weakness in the particular system, and then you get into the system for doing unintended activities. That is called as an exploit. And we will see the next factor, that is called as a risk. What is meant by the risk? Risk is something that is happening after the successful attempt of a particular attack. So what is the formula for calculating the risk? It is the multiplication of the three attributes such as threat, vulnerabilities and the impact. So the combination of all three important metrics that accounts to your risk. So for example, you have a vulnerable Apache server, and this vulnerability can make an attacker to get into the system. So those kind of vulnerabilities you have to have a pre-check. The next one, we'll see what is penetration testing. So penetration testing is a subclass of ethical hacking. So ethical hacking is the superclass, and this penetration testing is a subclass of ethical hacking. And here we will understand what are the procedures and methods that is needed for understanding the vulnerability in the particular system. So you will take a vulnerability report and you will record these are the vulnerabilities in the particular system. Next, we'll see how this penetration testing is very important. This penetration testing has to be conducted in every organization, so that we will take a list of vulnerabilities and exploits that is present in the system, and later we will take a vulnerability report and we will report to the system administrator. And this system administrator or the network administrator will find out these vulnerabilities, the security loopholes, and they will address all the vulnerabilities and make the infrastructure secure. Say for example, as a university, we have to make sure that our firewall is there, and we also have to make sure that unified threat management box has been deployed properly, and this management box will take care of all the threats, and these threats has to be defended immediately once the attack is happening. So this is what your penetration testing is. We'll understand the basic difference between vulnerability assessment and penetration testing. So while I was discussing, you could find that there is a similarity between the vulnerability assessment and there is a similarity between the penetration test. We'll see what are the basic differences between these two elements. So the first one is vulnerability assessment. Here you will only identify what are the vulnerability that is present in the particular asset. Asset means a computer, okay. Then you will document them. That is called as vulnerability assessment. And in the penetration test, what you will do is, you will first simulate the particular attack, and then you take a vulnerability report and you will report it. So in this case, what will happen is, you will try to find out the vulnerability in each and every system in the network. And here sometimes the exploit may turn to false positive. So every attack will not be successful. Sometimes the attacks may not be successful also. So this is the major difference between the vulnerability assessment and penetration testing. So you are going to simulate a particular attack, that is called as a penetration testing. Now we are going to do hacking or ethical hacking in an organization. For that, we need the prerequisites, that is rule of engagement. What is meant by rule of engagement? Here, the client and the service provider, both of them have to sit together and they have to take a information disclosure. So what are the legal requirements that has to be taken care? What are the resources that they have to consider? What is the scope of the project? What is the scope of ethical hacking? All these things has to be written properly in a particular format, and we should have an agreement what are the terms that we agree upon and what are the terms that we don't agree upon. So these kind of report is being maintained, that is called as rule of engagement. So in the rule of engagement, what are the basic things that we have to take care? So the first one is we should take a proper permission, that is non-disclosure agreement between both the parties. The next one is the scope of engagement. It means in an organization, which particular department are you going to engage? Either it can be administrative level or it can be at the admission level. So you have to differentiate different departments and identify to what level you are going to do hacking. The next one is project duration. Whenever you are going to do a ethical hacking or you are going to make a vulnerability report, you have to be very clear what is the start of the particular project and what is the end of the particular project. So you cannot be doing a vulnerability assessment for the whole year. We have a start date, we have an end date, between what months we are going to do. So all these things have to be noted. The next one is the methodology for conducting the penetration test. What methodology you are going to do? What kind of framework that you are going to use? Okay, whether it is an NIST framework or it's a WASP, or you have to know what kind of framework that you are going to use for this one. The next one is the goals of the penetration test. Before doing the penetration test, you have to know what is that you are going to finally achieve. What is the objective? Whether you are going to identify those who are having authentication problems, or you are going to identify the person with uh, attacker identity. So you have to clearly mention what is the goal of your penetration testing is. And the next one, you will be categorizing what are the allowed techniques, what are the disallowed techniques. So what are the allowed techniques? So allowed techniques can be your two-factor authentication. Say for example, you have a email system, email server. In the email server, you have to make sure that all the users will have two-factor authentication. And for example, what is meant by disallowed technique? In the disallowed technique, you have to clearly say whether denial of service attack can be done or not. This kind of exploit can be included or not. That is example for the disallowed technique. And finally, you have to decide who holds the responsibility. What is the liability? If a particular exploit is happening, who will hold responsibility for that? And you also have to come with the backup and the disaster recovery management as well. So this is the major aspect that you have to consider in the rule of engagement. Now you know what is the rule of engagement. Next, you have to come up with a Gantt chart, and you can use a website called Basecamp. With this, you can build a milestone where you have different levels in which you are going to achieve this milestone. So the first one is in the particular start date and the particular end date, what is the phase that you are going to do? Here, what I have mentioned is in the 12th May 2013, the project is going to start by 18th May to 2013. And here what I'm going to do is I'm going to identify the scope of the particular penetration testing. What is the scope of the penetration testing? In organization, at what level we are going to be exposed. That is what your scope definition is. And we have several other milestones also. So as a penetration tester, I'll be going for identifying the scope. Next, I'll be identifying the reconnaissance. Next, I'll be scanning the network for the vulnerability. And once I scan, I will find out what are the exploits are present in the particular network. And next, I'll be doing post exploitation analysis. So after the attack has been happened, what are the methods that need to be understood to know what level of damage has been occurred? Then you'll be doing reporting. In the reporting, you'll be finding out what are the systems you try to exploit, what are the systems that successfully got exploited, and what are the systems which has defensive mechanisms to withstand the particular attack. And you will be finding out the exploits for entire devices in the particular network. Okay, so it means that we have lab 101, for example. You will be identifying every single system, and you will be seeing whether the system is able to withstand a particular attack or not. And once the particular lab is completed, then you will move to the next lab, and you will make sure the entire organization is secure. So the next one is we'll be seeing about the penetration testing methodology. The most popular framework and the methodology that we'll apply is the NIST. So in the NIST, we have different phases. The first one is the planning phase, second one is the discovery phase, and the final one is the attack phase. We will see one by one what is meant by the planning phase. The first one is the planning phase, where you will be knowing the engagement. It means the rule of engagement. Say for example, what kind of project you are going to implement, what kind of methods and procedures you are going to implement, and what are the tools that you are going to use, what is the start date, what is the end date, and what kind of exploits you are going to try, and in that what are the allowed methods, what are the disallowed methods. Everything comes under the planning phase. The next one is the discovery phase. In the discovery phase, we have two methods. One is the network information gathering. We will gather all the information from the network by using advanced tools. And here we will identify what kind of service you have to take, what kind of OS you have to do penetration testing. So when I say service identification, you'll be identifying what are the services that are running in the network. It can be FTP, it can be HTTP, it can be SSH. So you will be identifying what kind of service that you are going to check. The next one is OS detection. Here you'll be identifying whether this OS is a Linux or it is a Microsoft server. So you'll be knowing exact version also. And the next one is the vulnerability assessment. So once you have collected all the information, you have to do a vulnerability assessment. You should know what are the exploits that are present, what are the vulnerabilities that are present, and which has the highest priority. You have to know those aspects also. Next, we have the discovery phase. In the discovery phase is the heart of the penetration testing, because once you have completed the network scanning, information gathering, the next thing attacker will do is will conduct a attack. And once the attack is done, we will be able to identify at what level of damage the particular attack is causing in the particular network. I'll tell you with one example. Here you have a dual homed network which is connected to the Wi-Fi. So what you'll be doing is you will be checking every single host in the particular network, and you will be reporting whether that particular host is vulnerable to attack or not. Okay. So these are the phases that is very important in the NIST framework. The first one is the planning phase, the second one is the discovery phase, and the final one is the attack phase. So we'll see how the workflow of the NIST framework is going on. So as we discussed in the previous slide, we have this discovery phase where you are going to understand what kind of network scanning you are going to do, how the information is going to be collected. The next one is gaining access. Here, how we are going to gain the access. So once you gather all the information, you'll be gaining the access into the particular target machine. Say for example, you have given me a user level privileges to get into a particular system. So that is the basic level. The next one is escalating privileges. Here the user will collect the information from the previous discovery phase and he will be trying to gain control over the system. Say for example, here I will be going at the user level, but whereas in the escalating privileges, I will be taking administrator level access to get into the particular system. The next one is we have system browsing. In the system browsing, what we will do is we will try to access additional system. So for example, I am able to access only particular folder, but later what I will do is I will be able to download videos and multimedia contents in the particular system. So that kind of additional compromise also is happening because of this particular phase. And finally, we have install additional tools. Say for example, if you want to install any additional penetration testing tools, you will be installing in that particular phase, and it can gain access for other systems also. So this is what your discovery phase and the attack phase is. In the attack phase, you will be going step by step. That is, the first one you will be getting user level access. The second time you will be getting administrator level access. And next you will be gathering more information about what kind of elements that you are going to do. And finally, you will be installing additional tools to gain access over the complete system. The next one, we have this WASP. This WASP methodology, it is used for only web application. So whatever web application we have, this web application can be tested with WASP framework. And here we have a comprehensive list of methodologies and procedures to know whether your web browser is secure or not. So this is your WASP. So whenever I say web application, you will be using this WASP framework. And we'll see what are the different categories of penetration testing. We have black box, white box, and the gray box. The first one is black box. In black box, little or no information will be given. For example, in the network penetration testing, you have target demilitarized zone, that is DMZ. In the DMZ, the target operating system, server version is not given. You will not give any details about these particular aspects. The only information that it will be given is the IP range. So what are the IP ranges that you have to test? Only those information will be given by the black box. Whereas in the white box, you will be giving all the information about the target system. So what are the information that you will be giving about the target system is what is the application that is running, what is the version that has been running, what kind of operating system, every information will be given. For example, in the application running, you can say whether Apache server is being used. In the version, you can say what kind of version number it has been done, and operating system, which kind of operating system, it can be a Linux operating system or it can be Microsoft server. So that kind of information also will be given. Next, we have the gray box. In the gray box, part of the information will be given, part of the information will not be given. So here, what are the information that we will give you is, we will give you the set of applications. Okay, what are the applications that are running in the particular IP, but we will not give you the version, what version the services are running. So whenever we think about the penetration testing, we have to know what are the different kind of methodologies that is being used. So it can be black box, white box, or gray box. So we'll see what are the different types of penetration testing. The first one is network penetration testing. Network penetration testing is something where you will be testing your network. So it has two different categories, internal and external penetration testers. Next one, you have web application penetration testing. So whatever web application you have, you will be testing the security of the web application. That is your web application. Next one is mobile application penetration testing. You will be checking whether your Android phone or iPhone is having security features or not, or what kind of exploit it can be done. The next one is social engineering penetration testing. Here, any organization will ask the users to attack and see whether the social network is be robust or not. And finally, we have physical penetration testing. Here, you can ask any one particular person to walk inside the organization and see what kind of security can be breached, whether this particular door can be reached by a particular person or not. So, this is what your different types of penetration testing is. So, in this session, we have understood what is meant by penetration testing, what is meant by ethical hacking, what are the different types of penetration testing, and what are the different methodologies used for penetration testing. And we also have found out what are the different types of penetration testing. And thank you. And this is the reference which is being used for preparing the slide. Thank you.